Hey friend, welcome to the Badass is the New Black podcast, where our motto is done is better than perfect. I'm Chrissy Chin, here on a mission to help you grow your business online, turn your leads into lifelong customers, and scale to six figures and beyond so you can work less and enjoy and earn a whole lot more. Most importantly, I'm a laid-back wife, a mom, a friend who started as a peds nurse, turned network marketer, and now a serial entrepreneur. This podcast is for ambitious people with an idea, a vision, but no idea how to get there. On this podcast, I'll give actionable steps to keep you moving forward while you learn new business strategies, better systems and processes, marketing, sales, all the things you need to build and scale a blissful business that keeps your pocketbooks growing. Grab a beverage, open up your notes app, and let's get to it. Today, I am here with Dave Braun, co-founder of OOLA, author of 3 international best-selling books, which have impacted over 1 million people in 43 countries. And he recently launched OOLA Global with the mission of impacting 1 billion lives in the next 7 years. I absolutely love that, Dave. Such an honor to be here talking to you today.
No, thank you. Thank you so much.
I remember a few years ago we met, and whether or not you remember this, I don't know, but I definitely saw you at a conference and came up to you and was like, hey, I know your sister and we must get a picture together so I can send it to her. And whether or not you remember, like, you were probably like, this girl's full of crap. Like, what are you talking about?
No, I totally remember that. That's so funny because we were in like a book signing line or something. You're like, I know your sister. And I was like, I remember that very well.
And like,
That's
such
funny.
a small world, because she was a stylist at this hair salon that I went to in Atlanta. And so Danielle and I have kept in touch, and kind of like full circle years later, like here I am with you on the podcast. And like, this is just super exciting for me and all of my listeners to get to chat with you today. So I'm super excited.
Super exciting. And it just goes to show the super small world. It's crazy. It's really
world.
crazy how many times that overlaps. So super fun.
So small. Yeah. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love Danielle. Like, I've gotten to know you more. Love you guys. Love what you're doing. So I'm excited to just have you, share what OOLA is, how it started, how you are helping people. I mean, you have this mission of helping 1 billion people in the next 7 years. Like, that's super powerful. So how are you impacting them? Because maybe people that are listening have no idea what OOLA is. And I'm hoping that we can just give them an amazing experience with you today so that they know more, learn more. And then we also have a special surprise at the end to invite you guys to something even more insane. So stick with us till the end and you'll get the information on that. So I'm just going to let you dive in, because I know you do this. Like, I love that you have a partner with this, because I can relate, because Claire and I do everything together too, my youngest sister. So I love businesses that have a partnership of some kind, like 2 people. So I kind of even just want to hear, like, who has what role, like, how do you guys support each other? Just because I'm curious.
One of my favorite things to do is be interviewed, because I love the way it always goes a different direction. So however this goes is great. I know that your audience is more business minded. So I think a lot of the benefit of this would be, how did 2 guys with no experience writing, never spoke on a stage, build this global movement, and how did that happen? And I think the biggest thing is, before we even get into what OOLA is, just like the biggest thing is, we're super passionate about OOLA because it worked in our own lives. I think that's where it started. And we were friends for 25 years. So we've had a long history together, always saying someday we're going to start some kind of business together. And we had no idea what that was going to be. Was it going to be a clinic, because we were in the healthcare field? What were we going to start together? And this just kind of ironically fell on our lap through a crisis, through a moment of economy collapse, 2007, 2008, 2009. This is really the birth of this business, which is so unique. But OOLA, it's really a lifestyle framework to help you find balance in 7 key areas of life: fitness, finance, family, field, which is your career, faith, friends, and fun. And I learned this from Dr. Troy in 1997. I was working at his clinic. I was interning with him. He's actually my boss. And all I knew is that I was working hard, and he was going to the lake every day and to a cabin and traveling. And I'm like, what is this guy doing? And at the end of 1 year of my residency at his clinic, he said, I want to take you to Vegas, and I want to teach you this thing called OOLA. He goes, you're a hard worker. You're a good dad. You're a good guy. I want to teach you OOLA. So I'm like, whatever you're doing, I want to learn that because you're happy, you're connected, you're traveling, you're living the life I want to live. So we went to Las Vegas, 1997, the first weekend in December. We sat on the floor at the Hard Rock Hotel, and we were sitting there, and he had 7 stacks of white note cards, and they were labeled the 7 F's of OOLA. I've never heard of this in my life. I've set goals for like sports and like getting good grades. That was about it. But they were, where are you in the 7 key areas? Where do you want to go? What are your dreams and goals? And how are you going to get there? And he said, you're going to be motivated to go crush business and all of that. But there's 7 areas of life. You can't crush business and lose your family. You can't have a great family, but not be able to provide for them. You can't have a great family and your money's perfect, but then you have a health crisis because you're not taking care of your health. So I sat there, and for the first time ever, I had to get very real with where I was in these 7 key areas, like finance. Where was I? I didn't have a job. I was just ready to graduate with my doctorate. I had $126,000 of student loan debt. I was like, it was bad. It was like a 2 on a scale of 1 to 10. But then the second day was, okay, now where do you want to go in the next year? What are your dreams and goals? And then day 3 was like, what are all the action steps and accountability we're going to put in place to make sure you hit that? It worked. I mean, 1998 came around to December, and I was, paying down my student loans. I was successful in my business. My family was great. Everything was moving in the right direction. And I just continued to follow this system. And there was something really key in that he told me a long time ago. He says, there's not a secret to success. It's not a get rich quick kind of thing. There's a system to success. Successful people follow a system of saying, hey, this is what I want, and positive intentions towards that. But then they take action and they work. They take daily action towards that. So I followed that. Long story short, I followed that. I became successful in my late 20s. Dr. Troy was very successful in all 7 key areas as well. He moved overseas for a business opportunity, took his whole family. We lost touch for about 5 years. And during that 5 years, I thought, well, I hit it. Like, I got the big house, I got the cool cars, kids, family, business. I was running marathons, fit, like working on my faith. And for some reason, I just quit doing OOLA. And where I found myself in 2007 was I found myself in a motel on the bad side of town, going through a bankruptcy, going through a divorce, losing everything in the crisis. And I reached out to Dr. Troy, who at this time was 42, fully retired, has a house in Arizona in the winter, lake cabin in the northern Minnesota, has a place in Thailand, place in Panama, married 30 years or whatever. Not at that time, he was married like 25 years, 4 kids.
Like, oh, you got married at 10.
Married at 12. I was like, he's married 30 some years now, but he was just living his OOLA life. And I was like at the bottom. And he said, what happened to you? And I'm like, I just quit doing this OOLA thing. And he goes, get back to OOLA. And I made a promise. I said, if this works for me, we're going to share this with the world. He goes, cool, but maybe you want to go get a job and like get your life back on track first. So about 2012, about 4 or 5 years into really working hard on making sure my kids were good, working on getting my debt paid off. I had $750,000 in debt at the time, and just really building my life back. I was at his cabin, and he said, how's life? And I said, man, it's just, the kids are good. It's just so much better, but I have a long way to go. And he said, you promised at the bottom that if this works, you're going to share it with the world. How do you want to do that? As like a joke. And I said, I have no idea. He said, are you going to do books? Are you going to do like a podcast? Like, what are you going to do? And I said, well, let's just start outlining this process of OOLA and see what happens. And we sat in his cabin every night for 3 days straight, and we wrote out everything in OOLA. There are 7 key areas of life. There are 3 simple steps: where you are today, where you want to go, how you're going to get there. There are blockers that get in the way, like fear, guilt, self-sabotage, which so many of us go through, anger, laziness. And then there's these accelerators like gratitude, love, passion, wisdom, integrity, humility that move you forward. And we wrote this all down. We wrote stories around it. And in 3 days, it became our first book. And we had no intentions of writing a book. We didn't think we could ever write a book. And we had so much fun just writing this down. And we had the full manuscript, and we sent it to an editor, and they cleaned it all up. And we just decided, let's go do this. And we never even talked to a publisher. We self-published it. I thought we were going to sell 1 million copies. Troy said we're going to sell about 40. So he goes, I'm going to stay in retirement. The funniest story ever. This is like along the lines of business now. So I said we're going to sell 1 million books. Troy made me write down on a list everybody who's going to buy a book, and I was writing like my sister, my mom, and the number was 47. So he said, you're going to sell 47 books. I said, I'm going to sell 1 million books. And I said, well, we need to place an initial order. And he's like, who's going to pay for it? And I'm broke still. I'm just working on getting my OOLA back. So I talked him into ordering 5,000 books. And that was our initial order, 5,000 books. He had no desire to be part of it. The first 5,000 books, if you have one of these books or you could find one, is the picture of the back of his head. You can't even see who it is, like in the author. And I got a cheesy tie on and I'm smiling. And it's a picture of the back of his head because he's like, I'm staying in retirement. I want nothing to do with this.
Oh my God.
And the book came out and it took 90 days, I think, to get past 47 books sold. And then it started getting legs and it got into the NFL. And there's a whole story behind that. I got to some celebrities and then it just took off. And we had our first talks, pulled him out of retirement, signed a book publishing deal with the original publishers, Chicken Soup for the Soul. And now 3 books and a coaching network and OOLA Global. But it really was a passion project that I'm like, I want this to work. Troy was like, good luck. I'll support you. I want nothing to do with this because I don't want to be on stages or anything like that. And now he's amazing. He loves it. We drive across the country in a VW bus and collect dreams and go to book signings.
Bus. I think I put a sticker on that bus. You guys, if you're listening to the podcast, or people that can see us on YouTube, I've been smiling ear to ear this whole time because so much of it just is relatable to me. Claire and I actually, our first business together, which I don't talk about much, but it was pre-Grow Workspace. We started a wellness company and had a wellness course. And in that program, there's a cleanse involved with it and all of that. But we really understood the power of this full circle, 360 degree, every area in your life. Health is not just your physical health, but it's your relationships and your spiritual health and, all of the things that go with it. And so we had this diagram of like the circle and like people had to like rank where they were in each level. So kind of a similar
That's amazing
aspect. So I love that. It's so aligned. When I first heard about the 7, F's of OOLA, I was like, yes, that makes perfect sense. When I first started this podcast, if you go back to listen to the very first episode, oh my God, cringe, because the first is always the worst. But if you listen to it, I said this podcast is to bring you and inspire you to be better in business and in life. And I 100% believe that every lesson that we learned can be applied to business and life. Right? We learn about how to communicate better and have better relationships. That's so, apparent in our life with our spouse, with our children, with our friends, and then also in business with the people that we network with and we communicate with and the people that we hire and our students or our customers or our clients, it's business and life. So I love that you focus on everything, because I truly think you need to have everything. I think that and this is my own personal opinion, that there's definitely times where you're not a perfect circle 100% of the time. That's very hard to do. Like some might shift a little bit and maybe you're focusing a little bit more on business and then the family start, and then you've got to like, okay, I have to regroup and regather and like, now I'm shifting, but you're trying to have balance around, the entire thing, the 7 F's. Right. And I think if you're constantly working on those, it doesn't mean like you can't be in the season of, okay, we've got a big launch or I've got this big event that I'm doing. And so business is, huge priority here, but just continuously working on all of those areas so that you can grow. Like you said, when you stopped working on OOLA, which is that concept of 77 key areas in your life, things fell apart. Like they just got really bad. And so like going back to that, okay, I'm going to intentionally focus on these things and improve all of these areas in my life. Things started to get better. So
I love that. And I actually want to talk about that because I think that's so key. I think for the people listening to your podcast, I think this is great. And in OOLA, it's a concept we call seasons. So you're trying to balance your life. There's no such thing as sitting in the corner in perfect balance. That's not what life balance is. That's not what work-life balance is. Work-life balance is being aware, being very self-aware of these 7 areas, but also know that in your life, you're going to go through a season of opportunity and you're going to go through a season of crisis. It just happens. There's going to be a crisis somewhere on your next 50 years on this planet, and there's going to be seasons of opportunity. So there's not this thing of keeping everything in perfect balance. There's this thing of being self-aware of saying, okay, I have an opportunity in my business right now that if I work really hard at this for 6 months or a year, I can really set up our family. So it's not like you let all the other 6 areas of OOLA fall. You quit working out, you never talk to your kids, you quit eating healthy, and you work on your business. What you do is have really honest conversations and say to your spouse, let's say, hey, I have this opportunity in this business I'm going to pursue. It looks like it's going to be about 6 months to a year. It's going to take a lot of my time. What do we need for the kids? What do we need for minimum health? Like, how can I be working instead of working out 5, 6 days a week? Maybe you're working out 4. And instead of taking the kids to school every day, maybe you're taking them 3 because your spouse can do that part. And really working together to say, we are now in a season of opportunity in this business, and I need to do this. That's normal to do that. Now, if that season lasts 3 years, if in 3 years you're still grinding, you're not taking care of your health, you're like not taking care of your kids, 3 years is the max. Now it's a lifestyle. Now you've created problems. Your spouse can only deal with it so long. Your kids can only deal with it so long. Your health can only go so long. So it's nice when we run through seasons that last 6 months to a year, keeping everything in check, but knowing that this is now a season. Same thing with crisis. If your business hits a crisis, if you run into a health crisis, you get that unfortunate diagnosis, you need to adjust all areas of your life. You need to say, hey, I can't do this podcast because I have an illness in the family I need to work with. I can't do this part of my business. That's a season of crisis.
Yeah.
If that crisis lasts more than 3 years, it turns into a little bit of a lifestyle. So we just have to look at all this as like it's constantly, life is movement. That is the definition of life, is movement. And it's that flux that happens in our life that we have to be able to pivot. We have to be able to, make those changes and move with the flows of life. But you also just have to be very, very self-aware that, all right, this is an opportunity. It's going to cause stress in other areas. I need to address that now, not hide it under the rug. Or this is a crisis and I need to address that, and just keep it within these seasons where your life is out of balance for a moment of time, so you can push into greater balance down the road.
Love that. I want to re-highlight, you said being self-aware. I think that's something that most people lack, that self-awareness. So if you're, working with an OOLA coach to find, how to improve these 7 areas of your life, they're likely helping you, realize, what's going on and where. Having this self-awareness, that's definitely one of the key things. When I was hosting a virtual summit, I think I've told this story before in the podcast, but I'll share it again. And my father passed away literally before we launched the summit, and I still had a couple interviews to do. And thankfully I was co-hosting it with someone. And so I just said, you know what? Like, I have to be with my family. I need you to do these interviews for me. And I was very self-aware that that's what I needed, and was able to give myself that space, remove myself from the business. I had set myself up to be ready so I wouldn't have to get ready, and was able to just kind of turn that over, take the space I needed, and then come back to it. And so if I didn't have that self-awareness, I would have been grinding. Oh my gosh, I have to do these interviews. Like, I can't let these people down. These are my people. I have to do all of the things, and not been able to focus on time with my family, when I needed it and they needed it. So having that self-awareness really got me through that situation. So I just think that's super powerful.
Yeah. And I think we take self-awareness like a little layer deeper and like call it like self-awareness, like for real self-awareness, because there's this whole self-awareness that's this superficial topic that people like, I'm being self-aware, but really getting real with where you are. I talked about it at the floor at the Hard Rock Hotel in Vegas in 1997, and Troy laid down these 7 cards, and I grabbed the finance card, and 1 to 10, how are you in finance? And me being self-aware at the time, I put an 8, and Troy's like, you're an 8? I'm like, I have a doctorate degree. Of course I'm an 8. I'm a doctor. And he goes, do you have a job? I'm like, no. Do you have debt? And he had me write everything down. So to be self-aware, you have to lift up the rug and just get really self-aware. Like, you can say like, I'm so tight with my spouse, but are you? Like, really, are you? Like, oh yeah, because we go on date nights and we post it every time on Instagram. Well, are you focused on date nights? Are you present? And it's not to call you out in a bad way. It's to call yourself out to say, where am I for real? Like, where am I for real? What are my loves? What are my desires? What are my passions? What are my dreams? What are my goals? What do I truly want from my life? Not, I don't want to build a business because I want to impress my dad. I don't want to do something specific to make my mom happy, follow a certain religion to make this person, whatever it is. It's like, where am I in these 7 key areas? Very self-aware of yourself. without that outside influence. And then what are your true dreams and goals? Again, being very self-aware of that. And then that's how you start to plan your life. But that's how you're going to find like true purpose and happiness for sure.
Yeah. I love that. Being honest, and honest without judgment from yourself and without judgment from others, I think is how you really get to that honest. Like, okay, if no one's going to judge me and I'm not going to judge myself, let's just be honest. Like, all right, finances, ooh, it's a 2, like could use some improvement. But until you are honest, you can't work on improving it. Right?
Absolutely. And when it comes to judgment, judging yourself, judging others, if anybody's judging you for where you are in your life, there doesn't even matter. They're not even worth having around. And I know that it's hard sometimes because we compare ourselves and we judge ourselves against others. But if you're putting your perfect life on paper and you're saying, this is where I am in my finances, or this is really where I am in my relationships, or this is really how I am with my kids, and you're afraid someone close to you is going to judge you, they're not quite the person for you in that world. You got to be with someone or talk to someone or have an accountability partner that says, where you are is just where you are. It's not who you are at your core. So how do we work together to bring this forward and fix this? And then when you're putting your dreams down, there's 2 things I see all the time is people concerned about the judgment of others as they're putting down what they truly want for their lives. But so many people are judging themselves. Like, I'm going to write a book. And then they're like, well, I don't know if I'm smart enough. I don't know if I can do that. I'm going to start a podcast. What would I say? I'm going to look stupid. I'm going to look dumb. My friends are going to think I'm dumb. You're judging yourself before you even create what you want to create. So there has to come a hard line in your life where you say, this is truly, truly where I am. And it's just where I am. It's not who I am at my core. I'm designed by God for greatness and a purpose. I got something more. And then this is who I want to become. And this is how I'm going to do that. And unfortunately, a lot of times people get there by going through crisis. Like, I wanted to start an OOLA thing for like 10 years, but was concerned, what would other people think? I'm not an expert. I can't tell people how to live their life. I'm not, I don't even own a Ferrari. How can I tell people how to be cool and successful? And really it took losing everything and just not caring anymore what anybody thought, because I want to build back something that's truly gonna, if it helps me, I want to share it with the world. So you don't have to lose everything to get there, but just get there mentally of like, I don't care. I don't care what other people, the judgment part of people, definitely someone for great advice and accountability is great. But from that standpoint of judgment from others and judging yourself is something you want to work through.
Yeah, 100%. And the reality is most people aren't actually thinking about you and judging you because they're too concerned about themselves. Let's just be honest.
Yeah. Or they're judging you because they're judging themselves. They feel less than, so they're making fun of you.
Right.
So there's too much of that, and you can just not partake in that for sure.
Yeah. Love that. Love that. Okay. So we've covered a ton. What else do you want to share? I'm like a firm believer in having a coach in like any and all areas that you need, whether it's like, a business coach based on like your business strategy or, a life coach. So tell us more about, this OOLA coaching, what you have to offer. Like, how are you really, you said you want to touch 1 billion people in 7 years, how are you doing that through OOLA?
Yeah. When you talked about the OOLA bus, which is a 1970 Vita bus, it's right there for the people on YouTube, right there. 1970s Vita bus. We drive it across the country, collecting people's dreams. It's got 27 layers of dreams. So about 140,000 dreams on there. But
my dream is on there.
It's on there somewhere. Do you remember where you put it?
It is. I don't know what it was.
Do you remember where you put it? No, it's buried.
No, I have a lot of dreams. And so any one of them could have been on there.
Yeah. So the first dream ever was Coronado Island, off the coast of San Diego. Trying to have the bus there. And the first sticker was to change the world with the word #OOLA. And we put it under the driver's door handle. That was the first sticker. And we started driving around. And we always say, if we had a mulligan, now that we're like years in, the bus is like 5, 6, 7 years old, I don't even know. We would peel all those stickers back and we would say, together changing the world with a word, because we found out like 2-3 years ago that we just can't do this one bus, 2 guys like trying to change the world. So we got to a point of like, let's certify people to teach OOLA. Let's do that. And that's led even into a digital OOLA Global, which is going to impact 1 billion people. But let's certify people that can take this OOLA thing and coach others, whether it's helping people become debt free, helping people, have better relationships, better marriages, find more balance in life, work through a tough season, whatever it is. So we teamed up with multiple New York Times bestselling author to create the OOLA coaching program. This is coming up on 3 years this fall, which is so crazy. This company is 2.5 years old, OOLA Coaching. And now we have multiple double-digit coaches in all 50 states. And we have coaches, I think, in 22 or 23 countries that are certified in OOLA. And that's been really the spearhead of the growth OOLA's had over the last 3 years, is that we have literally coaches coaching at companies. We have coaches doing workshops. We have coaches teaching at youth risk. We have or youth that are at risk. We have coaches coaching all over, one-on-one coaching, group coaching, all that. So we've created a program, like a very foolproof system to looking like a pro coach right out of the gate. And that's I'm really proud of that, because it's really, the book is great. The books are great. OOLA speaking on stage is the bust, but the coaches is really a really cool extension. It's a community of coaches globally now who are really like every day. Like I woke up this morning and had 3 or 4 messages from, I coach this client, they lost 40 pounds. I coached this client and their business grew by this much. Someone messaged me recently and said, I actually signed up a business for $15,000 as a client, that type of thing. So I really love that. And that's a direction we're definitely moving in over the next decade of OOLA. OOLA's 10 years old this year. The coaching's coming up on 3. And that's going to be one of the parts of the next decade, is really continually building that coaching network and expanding that deeper. And just because it's making such a big impact.
So great. And that's why I wanted to bring you on here, because the people that are listening to my podcast are, business minded. They are thinking about starting a business, or they already have a business. And I think that the OOLA coaching aspect and being able to get certified as an OOLA coach and have this in your toolkit in terms of having this a part of your business and being able to help change the world can be such a great thing. And it doesn't mean you can't be doing other things, but so many of you listening, I know that you want to serve and help and make a difference in the world, whether that's through, health, physical health or mental health, or, whatever it is. And so I just love that the whole OOLA model and the ability to be certified as a coach. So here's my big thing with most people. And this was probably me too in the beginning, starting my business. It's like, great, I want to help people. And maybe I want to call myself a coach, or maybe you don't, and that's fine. You are, if you're teaching people, you're a coach, even if you don't want to call yourself that. But it's like, okay, shoot, what do I do? Like, how do I coach people? What do I coach about, or I want it to be health and fitness, or I want to be kind of well-rounded, but like, now what? So with the OOLA coaching certification, like, you give the framework, you teach them how to use the framework, and you're handing over, look, here's a proven process that works. That's what the coaching is like taking your process, how you did it, and then teaching it to other people in a way that can change their life. So you lived that process, first exposed to it, Hard Rock Hotel, which that's where we stay, by the way. So love it. And, you lived it, you had your crisis, you relived it again, and it changed your life. You took that framework, and now you're teaching other people how to use that framework. So if you're feeling like, yes, I want to have a coaching business, I'm not really sure, what to do or what the process is, like, Dave and Troy are going to teach you the process. They're going to give you the framework and say, this is how you coach someone. This is the framework. This is the process, and support you along the way so you can go get your own clients and do coaching and be paid as a coach. Love that. Love it.
That's exactly when we decided that we can't do this alone. We probably spent 2 years on the bus. It's great to have a business partner for this reason. We spent probably 2 years on the bus talking about how would we certify people to teach OOLA, to make sure the brand is well taken care of, and to make sure that the clients are well taken, because this is now an extension of you. Right now, you're giving your baby and you're saying, hey, can you help raise this with us? And, we started interviewing. We probably spent 2 years interviewing life coaches, and we knew all the places it was broke. They don't know how to market. They don't know how to sell. They feel like an island. There's no additional training. They don't know how to coach from day one. They're nervous. They don't know how to group coach. They don't know how to get into corporations. They don't know how to be proficient at public speaking. So we said, let's take every broken piece and let's put all that into this certification so that people can come through and be certified and not only take our baby and help raise our baby basically with the OOLA brand, but they can be successful from day one. So just one of the things that you mentioned is just we do the marketing for you and all of that. But the cool part is that we do what's called co-coaching through programs. So let's say you are my client and I was your coach. My first one, I'm all nervous. You buy the program from OOLA. OOLA pays the coach 80%, and the coach can do one-on-one coaching, group coaching on their own, collect 100%. But through that program, then the program's delivered to them, and then they watch a video, they do a workbook, send it to you, and then you coach in between modules. So it's a co-coaching platform.
Love that.
All of our coaches, every single one, we do surveys. They said I was nervous on my first coaching session, and by my third coaching session, I felt like a pro. And now I got a whole career of coaching ahead of me. But it doesn't take 2 or 3 years to really go like, okay, now I'm really good at it. You can become good at it really quick by this process that we built. So it's just one of the things we built that I think has helped so many coaches really be proficient at coaching.
Love that. Love everything about that. I think that's a great place to kind of wrap this up and tell you guys about this really special thing that Dave and Troy, we're going to have Troy as well, come do a masterclass for you. And it's going to be on how to build a wildly successful coaching business on autopilot, right? And you're going to learn the secrets about how these two amazing guys built, their business and how you can leverage this to build your own business. That's why you're listening to this podcast. You want to build your business and more importantly on autopilot. You guys know I love automation on autopilot. So you are going to learn the secrets to building a wildly successful coaching business at this masterclass. Okay. So I want to invite you to that. You go to oolamasterclass.com/Chrissy. And I'll have that in the show notes. I'll have it if you're watching on YouTube. I'll have that down there as well for you so that you can register for this masterclass happening May 17th. I think we're doing it at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard. I really should have checked before we did this episode, but I'm pretty sure that's it. It'll all be on the, when you click on the link, everything will be there. So do you want to add anything else? Like little teasers?
No, I'm excited for a couple things. One is just working with you has been great. And I know Danielle speaks highly of you. And I know that you're out there changing the world, helping people be better at their business and turning their basically marketing strategies on autopilot, which is great. But we love just teaming up and helping others. And so I'm just super excited to talk. We'll definitely talk a little personal development too. Who knows what's going to come up? We can talk a little bit about self-awareness, but we really want to talk very specifically if you're looking at you're a business, home-based business, or you're looking at coaching, or you're helping others and coaching others. How can we help you be super successful at that? That's going to be the main focus of our masterclass coming up. And it is 6 Mountain Time. So what is that? 8 Eastern. Yeah, we nailed it. You got it right. Way to go.
Yes. All right.
So yes.
Love it. Love it. Cool. Well, it was a pleasure having you here, Dave. I love talking with you, learning even more about, I had heard some of your story before, but not some of the other details. So I loved getting more of that and just, it just hits in my core and resonates so much. And I want to be a part of helping 1 billion people in 7 years. So I'm here for it, you guys. I'm here for it. And I hope that you are too. Again, oolamasterclass.com/Chrissy to attend a free, by the way, it's free. Did I mention it was free? Completely free masterclass with Dave, and Troy is going to be with us. So we'll have all the details for you there. Dave, thanks again so much. Can't wait to do this again on the 17th. It's going to be
absolutely
awesome.
Thank you so much.
All right. We'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in. If you got some value out of this episode, I would love some support. And the best way to do that, so I can keep showering you with loads of actionable tips, is to hit that subscribe button. Leave a review or a comment if you're on YouTube, and share this podcast with a friend. And when you share it with a friend on social, please tag me so I can reshare your share in my stories. It's been an absolute pleasure hanging out. I appreciate the heck out of you for showing up. And now it's time for you to take imperfect action so you can work less and enjoy and earn a whole lot more.